Finally, my first big game hunt. It's amazing. Wait, let's back up a minute. I said it was my first hunt, but how did this happen? My name is Katey, and while I've been working in the hunting and shooting sports industry for several years, I didn't grow up hunting or with a hunting family. I'm a Korean adoptee, raised in Minnesota, now living in Florida. How did I end up in Eastern Oregon on a mule deer hunt? Because I've always wanted to try hunting, ever since I was a kid. I've always loved the West. Going on a Western big game hunt is something that I had always imagined as something far off in the distance that belonged to somebody else, not to me. Something that was for other people, even though I fantasized about it most of my life. The question was, how was I going to make that happen? Who would teach me what I needed to know? I didn't want to just go on a hunt. I actually wanted to learn how to hunt, and there's a lot to sort out. This year, I had the fantastic opportunity to go on a guided mule deer hunt in Eastern Oregon on public land with a female mentor. And I was lucky enough to bring along a longtime friend who is also a novice. If you're interested in hunting, whether you're just going to experience it and tag along, or learn how to become a hunter yourself, let me share my journey with you with getting it all figured out. I learned a lot. Everything from how to actually hunt the big game I was after, the gear we used, where to go, what kind of rules I needed to follow, what I had to do with the state, all of it. I did not have a hunting background, and if I can do it, you can do it too. It's pretty exciting. Hunting is a lot of work. It's a lot of work mentally, physically, certainly, and emotionally. And it was incredible to have a mentor like Hannah. She's been doing this most of her life, and she made it really easy for me to be able to ask any question that I wanted. If we see that buck again, and he, what would we do?
What's the red called? Cyanosis?
Do you think these are the same does that were coming down the... You mentioned the Medusa head and the cheatgrass. Where did that come from? I mean, would they be doing the same thing here as they would be any other spot? Mm-hmm. How do you end up dealing with it in the dark? Also, she knew that I was pretty much a blank slate on the subject, but it helped a lot knowing that I was passionate about wanting to learn, because she knew that anything that she shared with me, I would just absorb, gratefully.
We'll sit and watch him and see what he does, where he's going, and then we'll kind of figure out our game plan. Some bucks will still be in what they call bachelor herds. Deer are browsers, they're not grazers.
I really loved the ability to learn from so many different people, not only from Hannah and why she's doing this and what it means to her, the different, right down to little technical tactics that she uses just moment to moment or day to day. But also from the guides. We had other guides too that helped out, and I learned a lot from them as well. It's safe to say that hunting is somewhat gear intensive. Beyond the obvious need for a rifle, there's other gear you definitely want to consider for your hunt. As it turns out, your clothing and your boots are probably the most important part of your gear list. As far as a good boot, I ended up getting the Kenetrek Extreme. I believe it's called the Extreme for women. I read through a lot of reviews. I asked friends for some advice. Obviously, I checked with my mentor, with Hannah. These were the boots that she recommended. These are the ones that she wears when she hunts. They're super supportive, totally waterproof. You need them to be waterproof. They are insulated, so they're warm in case the weather. We had to prepare for every kind of weather, because out here, the weather is really unpredictable this time of year. But they were fantastic. You really, kind of had to break them in a little bit, but really supportive. I highly recommend them. They're not cheap, but they were worth every penny. This bag was great. It is really light. It's actually made specifically for women. The hip belt was really comfortable. It stayed cinched, sat right on my hips. It was great. I was able to get the straps basically just fit right to my body. I had zero back pain this entire hunt. It's got, even though it's pretty stiff in the back for that support, there's no weight to it practically. Lots of great pockets, lots of great places to strap whatever you need. I strapped my shooting bag, my rifle, my gardening pad. I put my water in here. This pack also comes with a great rifle sling system. Again, super light. This you just throw the buttstock in here, undo these, strap your rifle on, cinch it super tight. This was the best way for me to carry my rifle when I wasn't up stalking an animal, and it was really easy to get the whole thing off really fast and pull my rifle off when I needed it. But this made it super easy for me to carry it. I could keep my balance and hike for a long time with my rifle strapped to my pack. Shooting bag. If you can find a decent, lightweight shooting bag, this will come in really handy if you have to get prone to take your shot. And, if you don't have one or you can't find one or whatever, you don't want to carry one, you can use your jacket, you can use your pack, you can use, if you have to take your sweatshirt off or whatever it is, that works too. But this came in handy too, and I was able to strap this right to my bag. I wore this bino harness every day, pretty much every minute of the hunt. It's very comfortable, it's convenient, it's quiet, it's magnetic, it holds my binoculars perfectly. It's got multiple attachment points all around it. It's got 3 different pouches. It's got a pouch with a zipper on the front. I found it very convenient for my glasses. The pouch in the back is actually big enough that it can hold my phone, which is pretty big. I found it really convenient, really comfortable, and a great way to carry my binos. Some things you definitely want to have in your pack are a signaling whistle. If, let's say you're hunting with a guide and you get separated, you get turned around, this will come in very handy so you can find each other. Or if you're hunting with a friend and you get separated, good to have. Reflective tape, so that if you have to mark spots that you might need to come back to, it's light and it's easy to see. Definitely want to have a compass, because especially out here, no electronics. If you don't have a GPS, you're going to need this. Something to be able to start a fire. If you're with a guide, may not need to be able to start a fire. You hope you're not going to have to start a fire, but it does not hurt to have something like this in your pack. And then, as I mentioned in a different segment, important to have some kind of first aid kit, just, rudimentary, to take care of your feet, minor cuts and scrapes, just so they're not irritating you and distracting you and getting worse. And definitely are going to need a headlamp. The headlamp is great early in the morning at first light when you're sorting your gear and you're getting ready to head out for the day. It's great if you're coming back at night after last light. Being able to see, you can use it to signal. And certainly if you're going to shoot an animal late in the day towards last light and you have to go looking for it, you definitely need one of these. So of course, for a rifle hunt, you need a rifle. And Hannah and I discussed it, and she recommended the Mossberg Patriot Predator. This gun was awesome, and of course we needed to have it set up with a few other things. We've got a Leupold VX6 3-18 rifle scope. We've got a bipod on here. You might not need one, but I ended up needing one. And I borrowed a suppressor. It was just going to be a lot easier to deal with than trying to worry about ear protection and things like that. We took a day before the hunt to zero the gun and practice with it a bit, and it shot great, and it helped me have a successful hunt.
Let's talk layering and comfort. So what to wear is one thing, but how to wear it is about being prepared. And one of the big takeaways that I got from this hunt was that you can never be too prepared in managing your sweat and your body temperature. But also don't overpack, because you want to be a little bit light in case you have to suddenly take action at a moment's notice. I was lucky enough to be equipped with Badlands gear, which included a layering system that met all of those requirements. At some points I was down to just the merino wool base layer, which was comfortable in warmer weather, But before sunrise or after sunset, when it was much cooler, I needed 3 layers. And that included the base layer, a quarter zip pullover, and a jacket to stay warm and comfortable. By the way, pro tip for the ladies. The Badlands quarter zip includes an extra bit of space in the hood for your ponytail or your bun. Definite win there. Overall, managing clothing weight and body temperature are critical for success. And after this experience, I can tell you that being uncomfortable or too cold or too wet could ruin your hunting experience and potentially the hunt itself.
You know, even if you lace your boots up super tight and you've got great boots, if you've been hiking for a long time or a great distance, you should stop and just check in, maybe tighten, relace your boots, just reset up your laces just to get that, you know, nice, firm, supportive lace going so that you're not wearing through and having them loosen and just kind of, I don't know, you're just getting less and less support the longer you walk. Not only will your feet will be sore, they'll be more tired. You won't be able to go as long. No matter how great your boots are, you're probably still going to end up with some blisters, definitely some hot spots, probably some blisters, or maybe some blisters. So it's important to carry some bandages or Band-Aids or moleskin and a knife so you can cut it into the right shape. It doesn't really tear that easily. And to make sure you're watching the temperature and moisture on your feet. If you've been hiking or hunting all day and you have a chance to stop and actually take off your boots, you should do it. So your feet are probably going to be swollen. They're probably going to be hot, probably sweaty. Stop, take off your boots, take off your socks. Let your socks air out a little bit. Let your feet air out. Let them cool. Check your bandages if you're wearing any. Check your moleskin. It's just important to take advantage of that time if you're going to take a break, to just also give your feet a break. You put everything back on. Everything will fit better. You'll be more secure, and you'll actually be safer going forward. If you're going to be going on a hunt where there is a lot of walking and hiking, particularly up hills and down into ravines, it's important to be physically fit. If you aren't already what you would consider, physically fit enough, just try to cover some distance. Start walking, get your blood pumping, do some things to get your heart rate increased, and cover some distance because the walking and hiking, you're going to spend a lot of time doing that on a hunt like this, especially out west with a lot of big open country.
Before you actually go hunting, you want to make sure that you are prepared with your equipment. This will set you up for success. And to make your hunt as successful as possible, you'll want to properly set up your rifle, your optic, and your ammo combination before the hunt.
Initial shots were high and to the left, so we made some adjustments. The next group ended up being high and to the right. And after a few more final adjustments, we ended up, we were aiming here and ended up just a little bit above, but considering the roundness and all that stuff, I think we're right where we want to be.
So spend some time with it, get familiar with it, and make sure it's properly zeroed. Zero your rifle for what's best for you in your hunt. And for this hunt, we wanted to be zero at about 2 inches high at 100 yards. One thing I learned is that I have a lot more patience than I realized. And there's a lot of time spent driving, glassing, sitting, waiting, hiking, and you're not always seeing deer or making a stalk on something. In fact, the majority of time you're not. Fortunately, all of the driving, sitting, glassing, and patience paid off, because on the evening of the 3rd day, we spotted a buck and decided to make a stalk to get within range. Which brings us back to the beginning of this video.
Right in line with that. It just came up right there. You look through your scope. How far is he? Right square in his chest. Yep, whenever you're ready. What's up? I think you hit him.
Despite making a good hit, it got dark and we lost track of the deer. I did not sleep well that night. I felt really terrible that perhaps this deer was suffering throughout the night. I had heard that this could happen and knew that it was a possibility for any hunter, but I did not anticipate that it was going to happen to me on my first hunt. We came back the next morning and successfully recovered it early afternoon. Sorry, buddy.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you. You guys have been amazing.
I felt a lot of relief, but I was really disappointed because the meat at that point was questionable as to whether or not it was still good. And ultimately, we decided to err on the side of caution and let wildlife have its fill. But while I had closure, it still wasn't what I was anticipating or hoping for, but it still gave me some relief to know that this deer didn't suffer all night long. Well, the final part of the hunt didn't go exactly as I would have liked. Sometimes it happens. This was still the experience of a lifetime, and it was everything I had hoped for and more. Having a mentor that understands you and where you're coming from can be a huge help. Not only having a successful hunt, but getting the most out of the experience and helping to make it the best one it can possibly be. The big takeaways for me were to be prepared, stay in shape, travel light, and expect the unexpected. As women, we are told all the time by our families, by our friends, by our colleagues that we don't need anyone's help to do a lot of things. We get rewarded in our society for being super mom, super woman, super everything. And even though we may not necessarily need a man traditionally, like a lot of our mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers did to survive, we certainly need friends and we certainly need mentors. And as we develop and grow into who we are, we need people that understand us, that understand where we're coming from. And I was lucky enough to have a mentor who is also a wife and a mother like myself, and who has a love of the outdoors. I was also lucky enough to be accompanied by a friend. We were guided as fellow students and were able to learn from one another, inspire one another, encourage one another. And I would highly recommend that anyone who is learning to hunt, bring a friend, bring a relative, bring somebody that you care about who cares about you, and you will have a much more enriched experience. You'll have so much fun creating memories and an experience that you will both remember for a lifetime. If you're interested in an Eastern Oregon big game hunt, definitely check out No Tell 'em Creek Guide Service. They were fantastic.